Sarah, you can't make a deal.
Any freedom they promise is bullshit.
They patented us.
Sarah, they could claim Kira.
We definitely wrote ourselves into a corner a lot. Like, almost every episode. And then in the finale, we pretty much drove the whole mess off a cliff.
And now, go script to screen with episode 201 of BBC America's Orphan Black.
Okay, episode 201, Orphan Black. Sarah running blind with a shoulder check. Paranoid, avoiding the few lone pedestrians as she ducks into a doorway, pulls out the pink phone, speed dials.
Hey, this is Felix.
They were all you. They took him. They took Kira and Mrs. Ed. Now that we've done it once, there's new challenges, there's new kind of depths that we can go to with the characters and new explorations, and we know them, but how do we get to know them more, and how do we challenge what we know of them?
Paul?
Hello, Sarah. There is a painless way to reunite with Siobhan and Kira. Simply surrender yourself.
The clone scenes now are exciting because it's not just, wow, it's a clone scene, it's wow, it's a clone scene, and there's real character development happening here, and there's real emotion and interaction happening.
Rachel, you bitch.
Me and Kira are not your bloody subjects.
Neither is Siobhan.
It's easier in the sense that a lot of the world has already been established. From that point of view, things are a little easier. The scripts, however, are kind of more complicated in a lot of ways.
It always becomes an exercise in what story don't we tell?
This is the one.
Because you can't do all the threads at once. That's one of the biggest challenges for the writers.
We've come here to take you to Kira.
Where is she?
We're in Allison's basement. Lights come on in the stairwell.
What the dickens? John Fawcett has like a real soft spot for Allison. I'm not drinking anymore. No more little helpers. I'm in a musical.
Seriously?
He's always been like an advocate for Allison, so I think he's really pushing the kind of expansion of her story.
John just finds humor in the suburbs always when shooting and directing, so Allison's world is just rife.
Allison's world is a kind of generally a more comedic tone, for sure.
Hello, Donnie.
Christian is very funny. He really brings a great Donnie.
I was originally cast for, they said, probably 3 episodes.
I don't know that we had as much intention to use him.
No.
Until we cast him and started seeing him perform and doing scenes and kind of went, oh my God, he's great. And
Not just a hot glue receptacle.
no.
Who are you talking to?
I'm running lines for the play, obviously.
At 4 a.m.
I never expected at all that they would actually have Donnie become the monitor. I wanted it so badly, but I didn't think that was actually going to happen. And it did, and I was so excited and so happy about that.
I'm not in control of the muse.
Muse?
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't understand.
No, I don't think so.
Just go to bed.
Fine, don't be long.
Okay?
Tatiana is an incredible improviser, so we love to just dance on set. When we have a scene together, we love to just throw in little things at each other, either to keep the scene alive or just to throw each other off a little bit and knock ourselves off our center.
You know, working with Tatiana is always great. Like, it's always fun.
I think my body understands the shifts now, whereas last year it felt like a thing I really had to physically go, you know, into and now my body, it's like it remembers, it has a muscle memory that's different than last year.
It's insane how that girl can turn it on like that. You're talking to her between takes, and then all of a sudden, they're about to roll the cameras and about to say action, and she's in that character instantaneously.
Can we just back up a second?
No. We need to go, Faye. Delphine put me on the list, Sarah.
I can go in there and, like, demand that Rachel let them go.
I'm not keeping guns in my home anymore. They're at the range in my locker. But I always get this when I'm working on any project, is that it becomes part of my dream life. And so for this one especially, it's like there's so many characters competing in my head. Was there anything she did that I wasn't lining up with? I can't help but have them speaking in my dreams and physically moving in my sleep because I'm still trying to work out and process what happened that day or something, because maybe we did a clone scene.
You never really know what she's gonna do, you know, and I like that quality in her. I don't know, a lot of the time I know she does a lot of prep, but I think she surprises herself a lot too. We find things together. And finding Rachel was definitely one of the highlights of this season.
Die meisten der Patente wurden direkt nach der Entscheidung des Supreme Court eingereicht werden. Ja, sicher.
And we really, really have enjoyed working with her this season. She's a whole new clone on set.
I think she's quite lonely and hasn't really had a relationship in her life that's meant a lot to her or has stayed.
Plus, she's a woman who's actually been kind of raised by a corporation. So she thinks differently than all of our other girls. She's cold. She's a little cold.
Sarah moves through the crowd in her red coat, exchanging pleasantries.
Aldous, look who it is. No.
Mon adversaire. I wasn't as sure as Delphine that you'd come.
Here I am, but it doesn't mean I'm signing your contract.
We knew that the episode was going to end with a confrontation between Sarah and Rachel. And it was going to end in a bit of a smackdown. That's kind of was the original vision.
Good, you made it.
We would use a piece of equipment called the Techno Dolly, and it's a piece of gear that basically can repeat camera movement exactly. So essentially, we would block the scene like normal with Tatiana and her acting double, Catherine Alexander.
And action.
And then we would establish the camera move with the two of them in the same frame, playing different characters.
I want my daughter. Of course. And we want you to be together. But my people found your foster mother's house overturned. It was really physical and really dynamic and really fast-paced and violent. So it wasn't like we could just kind of calmly, place tennis balls. They were kind of like coming up into frame to keep my eye line moving. They were gone when we got there. You're lying. I lied to get you here, but we don't have them.
You don't have her. You're dead. So that scene was really challenging. And I was playing Rachel first that day. That was probably the most technical scene we've done because of the violence and the contact between the two clones.
There are other forces vying for our fate, Sarah. We'll get Kira back together. There's a moment where I'm over top, where Sarah's over top of Rachel and has a gun to her face. So it couldn't be my arm, so it had to be Catherine's arm. Nobody lays hands on me.
I had a stunt coordinator holding me up because I couldn't stabilize myself and just had to use my one arm. So it's those kinds of crazy technical things that are so awesome in this show, and just really funny to film because we would just burst out in laughter after the take because we looked so ridiculous.
It was hard to keep a straight face at that moment.
It's long and complicated, but it provides incredible visual reality that these two women are real and together in the same frame.
Studio art department, art catches mail on the front steps. A two-story walk-up. Someone steps out of the shadows.
Hey, it's me.
Jesus Christ, you are like a bad smell.
Art is the moral center of this show, and I know Sarah trusts him, even though she can't necessarily trust him. Maggie Chen? She has to rely on somebody, and he's the only one, so.
If somebody comes to you and lays that kind of story in your lap, like, how do you not just get up and walk out of the room?
Well, you're not having one.
I want it straight up.
But for Art, it's his reality. And he knows that what the story that Sarah's laying out for him is true because the puzzle pieces all fit.
The cowboy who took the shotgun blast was a religious extremist, like Maggie Chan. A Prolethean.
Elena's people.
Why don't we start with that?
I imagine that scene, being an hour and a half long of her just telling him the story and he's like, stop, let's go back. Tell me how this happened. Stop. Tell me about this part.
You sure you want to know what this is all about?
I guess we'll find out.
In a hotel room now, nondescript on Kira, isolated in darkness. A man's hands are brushing her hair. Kira doesn't trust this, doesn't trust whoever he is. The hands settle her in close and weak flame. Kira stares straight at us, unsmiling. Someone takes her picture.
Look at the camera. We do write ourselves into tight corners, and we're always raising the bar on one another, both script-wise and then directorially.
Yeah.
So maybe we don't really want it to get easier.
Thanks for coming. This is gonna be awesome.
And now, go behind the scenes with the hair and makeup artists of Orphan Black.
This is a dream job. We are in the design stage right from the very beginning. I couldn't dream up a show whereby I would feel I had as much freedom or as much artistic expression.
Lots of the characters, they've thought about it on the page, but they haven't thought about it physically.
And that's our job. Every day we talk about the fact that her taste is incredible, great instincts, to the point where sometimes she'll let us make a character. She kept her eyes closed the whole time and then she opened them at the end. It's pretty great.
And started to cry.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just can't believe it's you. Oh, honey. Stop, please.
First of all, I'll tell you that the hair's got dark roots on purpose. So, yeah. It's like a bad color job, right? So it kind of tells about her that she's does her own hair color or that sort of thing. And originally it was going to be a little bit more subdued, but then John wanted it to be super light like that.
White Russian?
Pork rind?
Hello, Rachel Duncan. You sure are.
I think Rachel was Sandy's inspiration.
A super high-end financial, like a Wall Street
CEO.
giant, a CEO, like super powerful. I just told him it was gonna be a blonde, and they kept saying, it's not gonna be too blonde, is it? It's not gonna be this, it's not gonna be that. I said, no, it's gonna be fine.
Good, you made it. Kira's here, and I want to see her now.
We wanted her to be, I think, the anti-Sarah. Someone that Sarah would hate. Who would piss Sarah off? This woman would.
If you don't have her, you're dead. Felix.
Oh my God. Hi. So this is what the word looks like sober.
God, you're here.
Allison's had some other looks, right? Like the one episode where she is in the mirror, right? She puts this thing on. It's not quite right. It's great from the front, but from the back, it's not quite right, right? And she's unraveling completely.
She's put on eyes from the ballet or from something that her mother dragged her to, lessons or something we figured as a child.
Forgive me, please forgive me. Oh God, what have I done? Who the hell are you?
You're Tony?
No, I'm Harry freaking Potter.
There's a huge dialogue happening between myself and Stephen and Sandy. There was a lot about Tony and a lot of test driving things and a lot of trying things out.
They have the same genetic makeup. So that's hard. If something's not a hair color or a contact lens, how can we change them? And I thought, what about someone who's transitioned from female to male?
We did about 4 makeup and hair tests and a few kind of little costume things before we settled on the final look for him.
We know that Tony is going to be played by Tatiana Maslany. To try to pack all that hair underneath a short wig for a man always looks a little bit phony. So we thought to go with a mullet.
Whoa, shite.
We wrestled with makeup looks.
In your face things we were talking about from the beginning.
Yeah,
I think
right.
a little bit right up in your face.
In your face, yeah.
Here it is.
Look at us, we're hot.
Very often, women who transition to men, this is the first place
They
the hair
can.
will
They
appear.
do, 'cause they can, yeah.
Well, you've got absolutely nothing I haven't seen before. Let's drink to that.
We wanted this to be more than just, you know, an after-school special or a gimmick, a one-week gimmick.
Yeah,
Very much.
a one-off thing, right?
Yeah, it's too important. This job, absolutely, makeup artist's dream.
Yeah, it's like your portfolio is every show. When I look back on the first day that we were coming up with the characters in that trailer last year to what you see on screen now, there's almost zero difference. What we stood through. When you see them cut side by side.
My name is Alison. My name is Cosima. My name is Sarah. My name is Rachel Duncan, and we are going to come to terms.
You believe that that person is the person. Whether it be the acting, the wardrobe, the hair and makeup, you believe that person exists like that, and that is the amazing part.
We knew that the episode was going to end with a confrontation between Sarah and Rachel.
Good. You made it. I want my daughter. Of course. And we want you to be together.
Tonight we are working on a clone takedown. It's two clones fighting. They have a standoff initially, and then they get into a physical confrontation where the one clone takes the other to the floor.
Nobody lays hands on me. You don't own us.
Sarah, put it down.
He writes it, and then I get, you know, it's like, yeah, here you go. Isn't it great?
It was really physical and really dynamic and really fast-paced and violent.
That was probably the most technical scene we've done because of the violence and the contact between the two clones.
It was definitely a challenge to try and figure out how to do it, because it was going to end in a lot of, it was going to end in a bit of a smackdown. You know, after the script was written, we did a lot of work in rehearsing it and planning it with intelligent creatures and coming up with clever new ways to kind of put those two girls together in the same shot.
We're looking for as much interaction between the clones as we can. So to do that well requires a fair amount of planning, and so yeah, we start talking as early as we can about these clone scenes.
We started blocking out this scene about 4 weeks ago.
The directors can't walk into a clone scene and go, okay, what are we doing today? They got to come in and know where the camera goes, how they want the movement to be, and have that blocking go as quickly as possible, because it takes a long time to get that master shot and get the ball rolling.
However many different characters, clones there are in the scene, we'll block it with her going through and playing each of the different clones so that we sort of set in stone where she is at any given time. Also, just the timing of the dialogue between each of the clones has to be bang on.
I was playing Rachel first that day, which was good because Rachel's kind of on the receiving end of Sarah coming in and barging into her territory.
When Tatiana's, doing a two-clone scene, she'll usually, the first pass, she will pick the clone that is in charge of the scene or driving the scene. So that's the clone that would, maybe be the most aggressive, that would move forward for the other clone to back up, so that she can be, when she comes time to play the second one, she's playing the reactive side of the equation.
Catherine knows the character so well that I've really just started to trust that her impulses are the impulses that will make sense when I become that character.
Catherine is sort of a bit of an unsung hero on the show.
She has to take on my impulses, follow my blocking, follow my character choices, but at the same time be alive enough and present enough to play with me.
You don't have them, you're dead. Sarah, you know there are the forces fine for our fate. We'll get Kira back together.
We shot out Sarah first, so we'll do a plate with Sarah, we'll do a plate with Rachel, We'll do a clean plate with nothing in it, just so we can paint back all the pieces that are missing. We then ask the acting double to step out, and we replace her with either eyeline marks on the wall or C-stands with tennis balls.
Good. You made it. I want my daughter. Of course. And
the other thing that's necessary is to make sure that the eye lines are correct for both Rachel to look at Sarah and Sarah to look at Rachel, even though they're not in the same room at the same time.
It was a crazy scene for Tatiana to film because there were so many eye lines for her. So when she was playing Sarah, she's coming into the scene with so much energy, and she's trying to get her daughter back, and it's really serious. And she would have these C-stands with tennis balls coming up into her eye line, and it's just the most ridiculous thing to ask an actor to stay focused and give her performance with these things going like. Meow.
It wasn't like we could just kind of calmly, place tennis balls. They were kind of like come up into frame as I was like advancing right here, actually. To keep my eye line moving.
You do actually forget that she is acting against a tennis ball sometimes. It's pretty uncanny.
You don't have her, you're dead.
This tennis ball looks taller than Sarah, maybe because Rachel's in high heels. It's all very complicated.
This scene was tricky because there's a lot of glass in the set, so reflections are something obviously we need to avoid. So hiding my lights was made even harder because the way that the glass reflects all parts of the set. Basically, I'm lighting the wide shots and all of the close-ups at the same time, because once we begin our clone shots, we can't really shift anything. I can't really change the lighting. To a degree, I can cheat a little bit here and there, but I kind of need to design a lighting approach that can be, doesn't need to be touched up through the day as we go from setup to setup. So because of the makeup changes and wardrobe changes that Tat has to go through, the lighting has to remain the same, even though we may shoot them hours and hours apart.
The scene is shot with the techno dolly, meaning that the camera is duplicating the moves that it did in the original blocking. So the first pass is done until they nail down the performances and the actions and the movements that they need, and then they switch to the other characters. So it's done in layers.
Cut, go again.
It's long and complicated, but it provides incredible visual reality that these two women are real and together in the same frame.
The Technodolly, when it works fantastically well.
We had a couple of technical malfunctions, as I recall.
The Technodolly is known as the time vampire, as much as we love it.
That's right. It was 13 hours for sure.
Here's what I'm going to have to get you to do.
Do it. Yeah.
One arm. You're going to have to do this you're going to have to put your gun arm behind your back. And you're going to have to lower yourself in.
And it's going to be Catherine now.
So weird. No.
We'll shoot a reference. We'll practice it, obviously, the way it's got to be, but you got to be able to do that.
Oh, fuck, really?
Yeah, so you got to get your hand in a good balance position so that you can support yourself and get your face in real low.
So in the final composition of the scene, once they're on the ground on top of each other and Sarah has the gun to Rachel's face, in the final shot, the hand with the gun is actually going to be my hand, and the hand on the ground that Sarah has on the ground is Tatiana's actual arm.
Yeah, intelligent creatures is constantly cutting off people's arms or legs or whatever to use to their evil benefit.
We steal body parts from the various acting doubles and whatnot. We did it several times last year where we had Tat run at essentially nothing, but the point of contact between Tat and herself was actually Catherine's arm.
So when we were filming it, Tat couldn't use this hand and had to play the whole scene with an arm behind her back. So when she was pushing the gun into my face, she had to just kind of be miming that force. And then at a point, she punches Rachel's face as well, and she had to just kind of go like, ugh.
I had to do it with both arms behind my back and kind of punch her without my arm. And it was hard to keep a straight face at that moment.
And then I had to do it the other way, and I had a stunt coordinator holding me up because I couldn't stabilize myself and just had to use my one arm. So it's those kinds of crazy technical things that are so awesome in this show, and just really funny to film, because we would just burst out in laughter after the take because we looked so ridiculous.
When we locked the picture and we were done with this particular scene, none of us noticed the hand on the waist until after the very, very near to the show being aired, and we had to go back and fix the hand because we all totally forgot, because we all focused on the gun and we're focused on the faces and make sure that the performances match up and that they're looking at their eyes, etc. And we all forgot about the hand on the waist.
We had our stunt coordinator's hands fully in the scene, so it looked like one of the clones had giant man hands sitting on her hip, so we had to remove that. The one thing I didn't catch, which was funny, was we had somebody Hollywood in a stand and she was hiding behind a desk. That was fine, except for the fact that we actually caught her reflection entirely over the one dark spot in the background. So we had to actually paint out a whole person that we hadn't anticipated on. We worked on that sequence for about 3 weeks. As far as actual man days, it was probably about 10 man days. There was a couple of timing slips that we had to do where we literally had to isolate Catherine's hand from the Tatiana plate and slide it ahead.
As they fall into frame, when we did it originally, the gun came in a little too late, so we ended up having to isolate Catherine's arm separately and advance the timing on that just to get it to come in a little sooner so it felt more natural. Whenever there's a moving camera, it obviously takes more time because we have to do more rotoscoping. A shot like this, where they're relatively short and they're isolated and a relatively still camera, we can usually do these ones in a matter of 2 or 3 days. And there's a lot of times actually, like in this shot, for example, where because Sarah's sitting on Catherine on the day, we actually keep part of Catherine's body to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. So for example, this part here is Tatiana playing Rachel, but from here back, it's still Catherine's body. When you get the two clones interacting in a shot like this, then it sells it for all the rest of the shots.
If we've made the effects obvious, then we haven't done their job right. This is all about subtlety. Allowing Tatiana to act with Tatiana in the frame. Nobody should notice what we do.
A lot of it was just the technical kind of the dance of it and selling all those moments and selling the punches and selling the backhanded pistol whips and all that stuff. Like it was a long day, but it was fun.
We would love the whole show to be wall-to-wall clones, but it would take a month and a half to shoot an episode.
And we would kill Tatiana.
Yes, she wouldn't want to come back and do any more of that.
Listen, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, because it's crazy, but Art has someone downstairs who really wants to meet her sisters.
The 4 clone scene really closes out that arc of the clone sisters over the course of the season. Cosima, Sarah, and Allison, they were divided at the beginning of the season, and one of the themes we were working on was sort of that we are stronger together, that was going to be a realization as the series went on.
I killed Ainsley.
No,
Yes, I
darling,
did.
no.
Yes.
Well, I mean, not really, you know, just like hardly.
Oh, God.
Graham had this idiotic idea to like have that we were gonna do a dance party, and it was written on the board from the beginning of season 2. We didn't even know what purpose it was gonna have. We just thought it would be a funny thing to do.
I could see that it could be a really triumphant scene, so it felt like it needed to land near the end of the season. We were looking for a unique graphic way to capture that, and 4-clone dance party stuck.
It was important for us in terms of Sarah's story, is that Sarah kind of rises to become a leader and kind of becomes sort of the glue to bring the sisters and the clones together.
That's my brother, which means he's one of our sisters. Family. Do you understand, Helena? He is Sestra.
Oh, God.
Now, you know, at the end of season 2, I think we know these characters really well. It's obvious they're gonna approach Helena very differently. For Sarah to agree, yes, Helena's coming in, she's gonna meet her sisters, and she's gonna see Kira again.
Helena,
Oh, my God.
this is your sister, Cosima.
And then Cosima's reaction I just love. It's open-hearted. It's, oh my God, you're beautiful. It's give me a hug. It's very, very Cosima.
I like your hairs. I like your hairs, too.
It was just fun to write those, and I don't think it was particularly difficult. They, you know, it was a moment I was definitely waiting for a long time.
So this basically begins a scene where Helena is going to be introduced to her sisters for the very first time. Now you can see here this is a camera move, so this is a motion control shot, and in between the two girls, you can see Allison back there, and I think that that's just a really cool moment where the camera sort of comes around and reveals Allison in the back. Tatiana's up for all sorts of challenges. I mean, as soon as we said it to Tatiana, we want to do a 4-clone dance party. Tatiana is like jazzed, right? Whenever there's a kind of big new challenge, she's pretty stoked for it.
She loved the idea, and Jordan had done several clone scenes with the Techno Dolly.
Yeah.
So he knew what he was up for, but he was used very strategically in that shot. Now, Cosima drops the needle on Adam Shake's record with the fake label. The track we picked is a friend of mine, an electronic music artist, Adam Shake, a West Coast DJ. It's very Cosima, seems very West Coast.
And now you can see back there that we have 4 girls in one shot. And this is a little bit of a historic Orphan Black here happening, don't you think?
It is.
It's a kind of exciting bit, because we, from the beginning of the season, said, wouldn't it be the most stupid, crazy thing we could do is have a whole bunch of clones and have a dance party? For no real reason. It's not like a whole bunch. I mean, it's not really plot-oriented, is it?
Of course.
We chew up some screen time just having a blast, having a dance party.
It's an emotional climax, John.
Okay, anyway, you can see that Felix drags the coffee table away and then reemerges in frame to grab Allison's hand.
And Allison, oh, no, thank you. No.
And so that's 2 different layers. Felix began with Cosima and then left frame and re-emerged and is actually physically interacting with Allison. And so that's just a little bit of sleight of hand.
And that there bum slap, that's a little Jordan and Tatiana just improvising on the dance floor.
Each girl has their own dance, right? So Tat kind of designed, figured out how each of these characters would dance as well.
The blocking tape for the marks on the floor is the most complicated tape I've ever seen on a film set.
So first we've marked off the Helena portion. She's actually got the biggest area because she's the wilder of the 2 characters. Cosima and Sarah are mapped out here. They both share similar sized box because I feel that they're almost similar enough in personality and disposition. And then over here we have the Allison pass. Her dancing quadrant, if you will, is actually the smallest because she's the most reserved.
They can't go this far over this line because then they start to lose their hand into somebody else's body.
I kind of need to design a lighting approach that doesn't need to be touched up through the day as we go from setup to setup. So because of the makeup changes and wardrobe changes that Tat has to go through. We'll do multiple passes on any given shot.
It's so technical. It's so technical. And that's the thing, it's like a dance party where we have to be so specific about where we wildly dance over here.
And Helena goes crazy, and the crew's jaws drop to the floor.
Yeah, because she just kind of lost it there. I wasn't sure. It was like after we shot one take, it was like she came. I was like, wow, that was a crazy. Can you do it again? And of course, you have to do these dances a number of times to get it right. And then after about the third take, she was like, I don't know why I started that in the first place. This took a lot of energy. We began with Cosima, then Tat changed into Allison, and we did everything, shot all of their pieces from both scenes. And then on day 2, we began with Helena, and then changed into Sarah. Felix is really interesting because he can only interact with one real person there. At the beginning, you see Jordan step in and join Cosima. Then they start dancing and the camera moves towards them. Felix grabs the coffee table, and if you watch in the shot, he drags the coffee table and disappears off camera. When he comes back on camera, he interacts with Allison. So he's actually gone off camera, come back. It's like a little sleight of hand here. Now, in the Allison pass, he can interact with Allison. Then, as the dance continues, he actually sort of slides off camera, disappears off camera, returns with Sarah. So now he's interacting with Tatiana as Sarah in the Sarah pass.
As it comes together and as the monitors, you're able to watch, first of all, at the end of the first day, you're able to watch a composite with 2 Tatianas dancing. Everybody starts to get excited because you realize it's working. By the second day, when you've got 3 and 4 clones on and the Vis Effect guys have got a rough composite going on now. You're playing the track, and this track that's playing again and again and again for us. You're playing the track, and the whole crew was crowded around those monitors watching this bit of work come together. It was pretty amazing.
So those 2 scenes took us 2 days to film. We had 2 dance rehearsals to make sure that we kind of knew what we were doing before we got to the set. And that kind of made things a little smoother. We figured out what music we were gonna use, and we figured out kind of the movements of the characters and the camera movement that we were gonna try and incorporate.
There was a lot riding on this day where we were gonna shoot these clone scenes. A lot of little technical glitches can go wrong. You can lose hours to a techno dolly crash.
Yeah.
We had to build in safety margins into our days. And then those 2 days went very smoothly, and we actually got the crew out of there early on a Friday, which was unheard of for Orphan Black.
It was.
I think a 4-clone dance party at the end of the day is going to be easier than like a sit-down 4-clone dinner with dialogue and serving platters. That's.
Although we should do that next season.
We will.
Let's do 5 clones and have a Thanksgiving dinner.
5-clone Thanksgiving dinner.
That's what we're gonna do in season 3.
5-clone fondue.
Yeah, and then
nice.
And an exploding turkey.
Okay.
Okay.
David Lynch, a little Eraserhead.
Yeah, season 3 finale. Mark my words.